Northside Board of Trustees. Before calling this meeting to order, the board would like to take just a moment to briefly review some of the rules for conducting our meeting. The order of business for this meeting is set out in the agenda. One item that you may notice on the agenda is the consent agenda. This item includes items that are considered routine and/or are of a recurring nature. All the items listed under the consent agenda will be acted upon in one motion. If there's a consent item which anyone here would like to address, please sign up to speak to that item and we will pull it from the consent motion and discuss it separately. The purpose of our meeting is to conduct board business, and for that reason it is held in public. It is not a public forum. However, we do provide the opportunity for audience participation. If there's anyone who would like to address the board during an agenda item or citizens to be heard portion of the agenda, we ask that you please register on the sign-up sheet located at the entrance to this room. This is so we don't overlook anyone who would like to speak to the board. We will review the rules for addressing the board later in the meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to sign up to an agenda item that has not already done so? Okay, the meeting will then officially be called to order. Please stand as Trustee Melissa Chumley leads us in the invocations and pledges of allegiance.
Almighty and merciful God, we ask your guidance and blessings upon this board, students, parents, patrons, teachers, and administrators as we are assembled here this evening in the common pursuit of this great nation's wealth, our children. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chumley. And welcome. We have a lot of recognitions here this evening. First off, though, the first item on the agenda is our superintendent's report. Dr. Woods.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Freeman and members of the board, just a few things to report to you today. Did have the opportunity to give invited testimony to the House Public Education Committee yesterday. It was an interesting conversation, most of which actually was not at all about what I was asked to testify about. But it was, I thought it was a fairly rich conversation. I have asked for a follow-up with some of the members in the next few days to try to kind of hammer home some points that got made during that conversation. And very much appreciate Kelly Rasty for her help in that testimony, even though, again, only maybe 10 minutes of that hour was spent on that testimony. But it was a good conversation, and appreciate the board support of my doing that kind of work. We are obviously gearing up for a new year with this week we have Leadership Institute. Week after next, we have both New Teacher Academy and summer graduation, and then obviously convocations the week that teachers are back, the week of August the 15th. Just a reminder to trustees that we do have 2 called meetings in August for the primary purpose of finalizing our budget and tax rate. So the first of those is actually next week. So August is busy for all of us. The district, along with a number of city resettlement agencies and support organizations, were recently honored by the San Antonio City Council at a meeting and presented a proclamation naming June 20th as World Refugee Day. Director of Bilingual Services, Victor Raga, was our representative. We have seen, as was advertised for many, many months, a very large influx of refugee asylee students towards the second half of last year, and fully believe that that will continue this year. So we very much look forward to tonight's recognitions. As Mrs. Freeman indicated, it's the reason we're at NAC, because we were hoping we would have a big crowd, and sure enough, we have a nice crowd. So thank you all for being here. As we recognize a state-level award for a Northside educator, a teacher at John Marshall High School, as well as our second UIL state championship, the O'Connor Panthers softball squad. And we will get to that recognition, or those recognitions, here in just a few moments. So I'll close with this. Tonight's video moment features some Brandeis High School students. When I looked at this earlier, I figured the O'Connor kids wouldn't appreciate that this was Brandeis, but sorry, it's just how the timing worked out. Who turned a school's community service project into a colorful and meaningful experience.
We can't always burn bright, but there are moments when you just gotta shine. Sienna, Ella, and Stira saw their moment. Tasked with a community service project at Brandeis High School, these three best friends knew they could do something pretty special.
I love to draw, and it just came naturally to me to include art to giving back to the community, because when you involve your passion in service, it just makes it more fun and you feel like you're making a bigger contribution.
They decided to put their artistic talents to work and create a coloring and workbook for the kids at the Children's Hospital of San Antonio.
The purpose is to give a creative outlet and some hope to kids in the Children's Hospital who might be feeling scared or alone.
The girls went to work, drawing sketches and carefully planning out every page of the book. And as they'd soon find out, putting a book like this together would take a lot of work.
Draw our photos, advertise, raise our funds, collect them, reach out to a manufacturer to get it printed, all that stuff.
You might say it was a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just drawing pictures, you guys did the whole thing.
Yes.
But their creativity and hard work paid off. Check it out, a one-of-a-kind book filled with things to color and projects to finish. Now they'd set out to raise enough money for 100 books, and you can imagine their surprise when they saw the final numbers come in.
We exceeded our goal of 100 books by 500.
So together they delivered 600 coloring books along with crayons to the hospital.
And so when we do have materials donated that we are able to give to kids and families, it is just a bright spot in their experience here at the hospital.
Riley Hammond with the Children's Hospital said what made this donation stand out was the time and attention Stira and her friends put into making these books specifically for the kids.
It's not a mass-produced, branded coloring book. It's something that's been designed specifically for these patients of ours in the hospital.
And I never thought it would get to this extent to where it would be this impactful to these children.
I had a lot of fun not only making the books, but delivering them and knowing that it was making an impact.
It just felt good to do something more.
And all this work they put into the project did not go unnoticed by the school.
I was blown away by how far they took the project and how much work they put into wanting to have as big of an outcome as they could have. They're only sophomores, so we're really excited to kind of see what type of projects these kids are going to come up with over their next 2 years here at Brandeis.
Yeah, that was pretty special project. I think that's just one other example of what most people in this room already know, and that is that the generation of young people who are in our secondary schools today very much care about helping others, and you will meet some exceptional young people tonight, and those are three other examples of just some amazing young people who are attending Northside schools, but helping folks well beyond their school community. So really, really nice report. Thanks for that. Ms. Freeman, that concludes Superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Woods. Next item on the agenda is board members' report. Board members, is there anyone who would like to make any comments about current events or special events? Yes, Mr. Lopez.
Go ahead, Gerald.
I'm sorry, there's no light, so I'll
Oh,
just
yeah,
have to.
I know, I was used to push.
Yeah.
Yeah, just congratulations to the O'Connor softball team. You make us proud. Thank you so much for your hard work, your effort, and the sacrifices for your award. So, and then to your parents as well for getting you to and from the games and making sure you're fed and healthy and stuff. So congratulations on that. You know, I also wanted to talk a little bit about the refugee award. I think that's such a good recognition, you know, like you said, Dr. Woods, that we do have a population of our students that are refugees and that come here wanting a better life, wanting to, you know, to educate themselves and things like that. So that's a great thing that we're doing, and I'm glad that we're a part of that. So congratulations to the group that received that. Other than that, that's it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Blunt?
Yeah, we all want to say congratulations to O'Connor. So you sort of beat us to the punch, but we're all definitely Glad
Go
that you're
Panthers.
here, and really great. This is really great, without a doubt. I also want to explain, and you may have done this, I know I got here right before the meeting, but we don't normally have this much help setting up our computers, just so everybody understands that we're getting something new and they're upgrading and doing a lot of things tonight, so I didn't want everybody to say, boy, they don't know what they're doing up there. But anyway, and one other item I had, for our Bexar County School Board Coalition, which is a collaboration among all the trustees in the San Antonio area. We've been meeting every Wednesday for the last couple of weeks just to really help out what we're doing, our jobs all across the city. And we've structured 3 committees. The first one, for the board to know, and several of our board members are involved with it also. First, we discussed a little bit getting information about charters versus public ISDs, what information is out there, how can we better accumulate that information and tell the true story of what's going on. So that one's been a very active one. Last week, we talked about how we better can communicate with the coalition as well as individuals. So next week, we're actually going to be training board members on how to do Instagram and Twitter and everything else by those that really know how to do it well. So that's something else to help out trustees. And then tomorrow night, we're actually going to talk about local advocacy in terms of what we should, trustees, who should we be engaging with at our particular responsibilities, whether it be legislatures, whether it be city council, whether it be other corporate board of trustees, et cetera. So it's been really great. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blunt. Anyone else?
Yes.
Ms. Saldana?
Congratulations, O'Connor, and it was so fun at graduation to see your senior team members with their medals over their gowns. So congratulations to y'all and to the parents, and Mr. Gonzalez will recognize you in a while, but congratulations to you.
Thank you, Ms. Saldana. Dr. Harrell?
Thanks. You're going to hopefully never get tired of being congratulated or being told how wonderful you are. I do have another congratulatory remark. My daughter played softball 20 years ago for O'Connor. And she said, oh my God, Mom, we were streaming. They are just beautiful and they're so confident. So from a fellow, not me, but a fellow O'Connor Panther softball player, I think the only other thing that she added that I just think is the biggest compliment is how confident you guys were. And that'll get you so far. So very proud of you. We were all delighted at graduation to see the medals as well. So again, thanks for bringing them home to us, or to you. Take care.
Thanks, Dr. Harrell.
I'll add, I know it's going to continue for some time, but it's a reflection of your parents. I want to make sure that you're grounded to, where you're coming from and how well your parents have prepared you not only for adversity in that sport, because it is, at times being in that batter's box gets really complicated, and some of the decision making, speaking from a parent's point of view, it could be, and we do it because, as parents, we do it because we love you. We see that you enjoy it, and, they're going to be there through those difficult times and through those successes. And I want to just share again, congratulations on your success.
Thank you, Mr. Medina. Ms. Chumley?
Well, I'll add mine as well. Tonight seems to be the time that we're going to talk about hardworking students and families. And so I know we're going to get to recognize each one of you, but congratulations and job well done. And I know that has taken a lot of work, that probably lots of years of work that y'all have done in this sport. But anyway, we're very proud of you, and we appreciate what I really liked is I loved the way that y'all celebrated it. And it's just neat to see happy kids. And y'all were wonderful. And I think that you did it with such grace, too. So very, very proud of you. I'm very glad that we get to talk and see y'all. And then I wanted to thank the coaches and really the athletes that are spending their summer. The very beginning of the summer, they spent in conditioning camp. And I know that in another week or two, I think 2 days, are going to get started. And I think a lot of times now you hear about kids that just don't have that. Our young people don't have grit or perseverance. And that's not true. We've got great examples of kids that have grit and perseverance. And I want to thank all those, and it's particularly the athletes that have been working this summer with the conditioning. And then the other thing, Carol, I loved our video, because when you look at the Twitter feed, the North Side, where there's lots of kids doing these amazing things for other people this summer. And I just, we're just really blessed, and we need to share that with our community of how fortunate we are with the young people that we have. Bobby, as always, I want to thank you. Working with other school board members has just been amazing. So thank you for all the years that you have been leading the Bexar County School Board Coalition. A lot of times you hear stuff in the news about trustees that, there's infighting or this happening, and it's always hard to sit in someone else's shoes. But what I have found in working with these other trustees is they really care about kids. And so I think that whenever we hear something about another school district or a school board that's, is having issues, that we need to step back a minute and maybe give them some grace, because I've really found with the individuals I've met through the coalition, they care about kids. It's hard sometimes for a large group of very dedicated people to always get along. And so I just wanted to put that out there, as I've been real impressed with the love that these people have for kids. And then I wanted to thank Stan, and I know that he is here, so this is a perfect time. If y'all trustees have not had a chance, and I think all of us pretty much have, to go to the Student Summit, that's this week. And Stan, thank you for doing that. I know that your motto is beyond the game, and you have really, I think, taken our athletics to another level, looking at character, not just X's and O's, and so I appreciate that very much. And when we talk about social emotional health, this is a great example of taking that conversation directly to our students. So if y'all get a chance, the student one is Thursday, 8:30 to 1:30, and each school was asked to send 25 athletes. And then the parent one, which is open to all district parents, is Thursday, 6:30 to 7:30. And then the coaches one is 8:30 to 1:30 on Friday. So I just giving a shout out for you there, Stan. Free advertisement. Anyway, if you get a chance, it's really great to see these kids work together and work out problems and, come up with some plans for their schools too. So that was it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Chumley. And so it's been said, congratulations. And, y'all have worked so very hard. And I know that you make your school proud, you make your friends proud, your parents, your coaches. And I just want you to know that you make us proud. And we're so excited. This has been a tough 2 years, and to see you all just blossom, and so many of our kids have just achieved so much success. So congratulations, thank you. Just wanted you to know that you make us proud. And Dr. Woods, your testimony at the House Pub Ed Committee was like you have a rock star performance. For those of you who may not know, so the House Pub Ed is having some hearings pre-session, and Dr. Woods was invited there to bring testimony and talk about some of the challenges that we have in public ed, specifically what's going on in Northside. And he brought several stories about some experiences that we're having and some challenges that we're having in Northside. And I think that, the members on that committee had so many questions for Dr. Woods. I think you must have been on the stand, so to speak, for at least 45, 50 minutes, which is pretty remarkable for them to have a lot of questions. So you did a great job, and thank you. He represents our district very well. And so next item on the agenda is recognition. So board members, go to the front.
Good evening, Dr. Woods, President Freeman, Board of Trustees. Speaking of rock stars, tonight it is my honor to introduce another Northside rock star teacher. Mr. Anthony Gonzalez is the state winner of the James F. Veninja Outstanding Teaching of the Humanities Award. Anthony has spent his 9-year teaching career in NISD and is a sought-after speaker and presenter on Mexican-American studies. In fact, Anthony created the curriculum used at Marshall, which has been replicated at multiple schools across the state. In his application for this award, Anthony stated, "It is impossible to separate Mexican-American history from the elements of Mexican-American culture. The framework he used when creating the Los Cinco Dedos, the 5 Fingers curriculum, consists of student-centered techniques, community involvement, and the importance of including different elements of Mexican-American culture. We are extremely proud of this program and its benefit for our students, and it is my pleasure to present Anthony Gonzalez, the Outstanding Teaching of the Humanities Award winner." And if there's anybody in the audience here, family members, friends, please stand so we can recognize you as well. I think they're right here beside me. Yes, congratulations. Now, Mr. Galindo will come do the honors for our lovely ladies.
Thank you, Dr. Jordan. Continuing the theme of rock stars, my name is Ray Galindo, and I am very proud and honored to recognize this next group of incredible students. History was made in Northside when the O'Connor High School softball team beat Lake Ridge 7-6 for the State UIL 6A State Softball Championship. Had a little mouthful there. Yes, let me say it again. UIL 6-8 State Softball Championship. Thank you.
Very good, Ray.
This is the first state softball championship for both O'Connor and Northside ISD. These champions have a 32-1 overall record and a perfect 16-0 district record. This was the 6th time in program history for the team to advance to the state tournament, and they showed real grit when, during their journey to the top, they overcame many challenges, including power outages and even sprinkler systems going off. And all that being said, at this point, 6 seniors are continuing to play softball at the collegiate level, so nice accomplishments there. According to Coach Boyer, this is an amazing group of young ladies who push themselves day in and day out to accomplish one of the biggest feats as a high school athlete. They never let their highs get too high or their lows get too low. They just continue to persevere. They believed in themselves and their teammates to have the confidence to make the next play. This group will forever be remembered as a group that never backed down and never gave up. So it is with much pride that I am here tonight to help recognize this outstanding team of athletes and their coaches. So at this time, I'm going to ask them to come forward. First, we have AJ Sanchez. Savannah Pope. Kaylin Rodriguez. Alina Tavar. Karina Felsing. Allison Munoz.
Y'all stay here, you'll get a picture.
Ella Gonzalez. Amaya Hasso, Jada Munoz, Dalia Reyes, Miko Dominguez, Sammy Portillo, Trinity Lunsford, Ella Salinas, Bradley Kitchen, Manager Journey Gregorczyk, Coach Nicole Brown, Coach Denise Lita, and Coach Caitlin Boyler. We want to recognize all of your family members here as well, and at this time, and you're doing it already, feel free to come up and take some quick pictures if you'd like.
Okay, so we need to get y'all back around the board. Pictures.
Denise? One's Denise. There's Denise. There's Nicole. They're going to come back. Okay, yeah,
I'll get it from another parent.
Oh. I shouldn't wait for everyone. We're missing one. Oh, two. Oh, yeah. I'm Sammy. I was the pitcher, and I'm going to UIW to play softball.
I'm Ella. I was the first baseman, and I'm going to Northern Colorado. I'm Jada. I was the second baseman, and I'm going to McNeese State.
I'm Ella. I was a right fielder, and I'm going to Hardin-Simmons.
I'm AJ. I was a left fielder, and I'm going to St. Mary's University.
I'm Journey, and I'm going to continue my education at UTSA for my first year and then transfer to UT.
Ray Galindo, center field, Chicago Cup now. Yeah. Thank you and congratulations once again. Ms. Freeman, this concludes tonight's recognitions.
Okie dokie.
So the biggest prize to those who were just recognized is you can leave. Parents, thank you so much for being here tonight. We really appreciate you.
Enjoy your evening.
Very cool.
Bye. Okay. So next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard. Is it an agenda item? Is it an agenda item?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to read you briefly the rules for addressing the board. We value your opinions and we will listen to what you have to say, although we are restrained by law from taking any action. We ask you to please address your remarks to the board, confine your remarks to a North Side policy or practice, and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, our board secretary, Ms. Saldana, will hold up the yellow card. That will indicate that you've got 1 more minute left. At 3 minutes, the board secretary will hold up the red card, and we ask that you wrap up your remarks at that point. We ask you also that you please do not make any attacks on individuals. An audience, we ask that you refrain from any applause or any negative response. Dr. Woods, our...
Yes, ma'am. Dana Kleehouse, and Ms. Kleehouse, I hope I got that even close. Okay.
All right. Good evening. My name is Dana Kleehouse, and I'm a parent of students at Briscoe Middle School, one of our North Side middle schools. I'm here on behalf of several other parents from Briscoe, and this is regarding security concerns at our school. I and other parents have talked and met with our principal on a couple of occasions. It has been very productive. Our principal is currently working to improve and implement new security processes, working with only the resources that she has currently at her disposal. However, the campus is still unsecure. It does not match other schools in our district, and it also does not match our feeder schools. So the kids are coming from and going to schools that are much more secure. In order to address these security concerns and provide our children with the same level of protection, we would like to request from the board funds and approval in order to provide a double-door security entrance for the school, as well as an additional police officer for our campus. By having the double-door security entrance, this will allow us to enhance our access control measures by having locked doors and then validating anyone gaining access to the school, rather than having immediate access to the school and go through the halls as they wish. Honestly, I'm a little bit shocked that this isn't on the agenda today, being a public meeting, and I'm also shocked that this wasn't implemented during the summer so that we can have our schools ready for the new school year. In light of the recent events, I feel this is a bare minimum for maintaining security and control of visitors coming to our campuses. Additionally, we currently have 1 police officer for an estimated 1,400 students. With the amount of responsibilities this officer has, the amount of doors to monitor, the size of the campus, and perimeter checks, as well as the number of students we have on campus, 1 officer is just not adequate. We would therefore like to request, at minimum, 1 additional police officer to add to Briscoe's campus to accommodate the population of our students as well as the campus size. In my opinion, the time to act is now. If we could gain funds and approval immediately from the board, these are security measures we could implement over the summer in our last 1 month remaining before school doors open for the new school year. We feel the current lack of security provides a sense of urgency in order to protect the students and staff attending Briscoe Middle School. That's all. Thank you for your time. My children love school. They love their teachers. They want to feel safe. My kid is in 8th grade. He performs in the band. We love everything about the school. All the programs, like I said, all the teachers. We need our students to feel safe whenever we drop them off for school and pick them up each day. Hopefully, we get to pick them up each day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And So we are not able to dialogue because this is not an agenda item, but I can ask a clarifying question from the superintendent regarding some of the things that you had mentioned. And Dr. Woods, we had a board retreat today in which we talked about at length safety and security in Northside. Can you please talk about, I know we talked about when we were going to get information to our community about what we're doing and all of the things we're doing in the summer and the audits. When would that happen so our community understands what we are doing?
That information campaign actually rolls out next Monday, so that'll be coming out very soon. We'll release a video produced by our folks in communications, but really highlighting the work of Northside Police and others who contribute to that effort. So that information will be coming out. We are specific to middle schools. We are looking at the implementation of security lobbies, as Ms. Kleehouse indicates, at our middle schools. That will be quite a project. But we'll come back to the board with a report on what we think that project would entail, what it would cost, what a timeline could be for construction. Unfortunately, ballistic glass is one of the many things that are impacted by supply chain issues right now, and we've done those a lot, so we are well familiar with it. So we'll come back to the board as soon as possible with a report on that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Woods, and thank you.
Thank you.
Karen, can I?
All right.
Karen.
Oh, yes, sir.
Sorry, one other one. So process-wise, could we also let, so she said it was herself and others, let them know if they do have particular questions about that campus? You know, they've already talked to the administration or what they should do next, process-wise?
Yes, I think clearly, as Ms. Kleehouse seems to understand, what's being asked for is not within the control of the campus administration, right? Those things are outside of their control. So once we feel like we've got a decent answer to that question, we'll have somebody reach out to Ms. Kleehouse, and then she can either share that with the other folks, or we can have a small group meeting, or however best to handle it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Is there a motion to come before the board? There are no lights.
I move approval.
I know.
I move
Second.
approval of consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. So as we scroll through the agenda, it's relatively light tonight. Under administration, review of legal policies and TASB update 119. My assumption is Mr. Galindo, or?
Actually, Ms. Freeman, Ms. Rosti will be presenting.
Okay,
So
thank you.
she'll cover both legal and local as we did in Policy Committee. Ms. Rosti.
Thank you. And Monica, you're going to help me with clicking, right? Okay. Okay, so this is, update 119 is, it was a pretty thick stack of updates. Most of it you had seen previously. A lot of updates came out in 118 from the regular session. So much of what we're going to cover tonight is really just tweaks from special sessions. So we're not going to cover all of the legal policies, and just a reminder, the board does not adopt those. Those are just for reference and for your review, just an FYI. The local policies do at some point need to be adopted, so this will be first reading of the local policies. So we're going to start with legal. So the first one, this one is noteworthy, and I've heard some discussion from board members in the policy committee meeting previously, and outside of that about this one. I just wanted to make a note of this because this is a pretty big one that came out of the 87th regular session and had a Senate joint resolution that resulted in a constitutional amendment that voters approved in November. So as you can see here on the slide, this provides surviving spouses of members of the U.S. Armed Forces who are fatally injured in the line of duty. They are now entitled to the residence homestead property tax exemption as long as they are not remarried. So that'll be a significant impact. CPC legal, this one we will bring back up in just a couple of minutes on the local policy side, because there is going to be something that's specific to Northside. This is basically asking that school districts to better comply with legal requirements for school districts to specify a position aside from the superintendent to be the electronic records manager. So what we have discussed in the policy committee was that title would be assigned, or that duty would be assigned to the Deputy Superintendent of Administration. So we'll bring that one back up again in local, but this is the legal policy that's coming from. And this is reflecting changes in rules, not so much from legislation. On the next slide, we have EHAA. This one you have seen essentially before. It was a pretty big piece of the regular session, regular legislative session, but applied to human sexuality curriculum and instruction. We came back in the second special session last fall and did essentially the same thing, same requirements for our SHAC, same requirements for parental opt-in, but for slightly different instructional materials. So this one is addressing child abuse, family violence, dating violence, and sex trafficking. So this is not a brand new legal policy, it's tweaking it to comply with changes that came out of that special session. And so just a reminder, this requires schools to now obtain that written parental consent prior to the child receiving the instruction. On the next slide, we have DG, which is Employee Rights and Privileges. This is another one that you saw before. It's just been tweaked from the special session. This literally just expands that policy so that it no longer applies only to social studies courses. So a teacher, just to revisit that one, a teacher cannot be compelled to discuss a widely debated and controversial issue of public policy or social affairs for any course or subject, not just social studies. The next one, EF, Instructional Resources. This is again out of the second session, same bill. This one is not super noteworthy to Northside because we are already doing this, but I did want to point it out that this requires school districts to provide login credentials to parents for any of the instructional materials that their children can access. So we already make this available to parents, but this could be an update for neighboring school districts. The following page has a brand new legal policy, EHDF. This one is kind of unique because it's going to expire very soon. This expires next year. So this does not really apply to Northside as we are not taking advantage of a virtual school network right now. I believe that we saw the benefits of being in person, and so this does not necessarily apply to us. But please just note this is a new legal policy that's going to be in effect until September of 2023. Districts that are meeting certain requirements of operating a local remote learning program will be able to offer virtual courses outside of the state virtual school network for certain eligible students. The following one, EIF, Academic Achievement and Graduation. This one will require the board to adopt a TEA-provided form that will allow a student to opt out of the new financial aid application requirement for graduation. So students will be required to fill out financial aid applications prior to graduating. If they and their parent choose to opt out of that, there's a form that it's a standard form provided by TEA. It's one page. We have an English one and a Spanish one, and we will need to revisit that to officially adopt that form. And that is in response to administrative code, not legislation. On the following one, we have student activities. This one was out of the third special session. This was a pretty well-covered issue, and it addresses transgender students in athletic activities. So if it's sponsored or authorized by a district, it prohibits students from participating in an athletic competition that is designated for a biological sex different from that which is on their official birth certificate. And I believe the final legal policy is student welfare, freedom from discrimination. This is from the second special session, another big bill, Senate Bill 9. It's related to dating violence. This has already been our practice, but this requires parental notification upon a report of dating violence that included a student as the victim and/or perpetrator.
Okay, and that's the end of legal, is that right?
That is the end of legal.
So to my fellow board members, as a reminder, the legal policies are a result of either legislation or rulemaking, and they're on the agenda for our information. They will automatically appear in our board policy, and we have no other option, but they do become part of policy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have any questions, you can either ask Ms. Rasty now or later. But
No, ma'am. We don't adopt legal policies in any way. The wording is a responsibility of frequently the law, right? They're taking language right out of the law, which we don't have the option to alter anyway. Our options to change are obviously on the local side, which is why we generally spend a little more time in that space and bring them for 2 readings.
And the legal, I went through those pretty quickly because y'all have been through the majority of them from the regular session. They just added a few little tweaks here and there. There were not too many that were, well, really none that were substantially different than what you had seen.
okay. So local policies, and these are on for discussion only, first reading.
Yes, so this one, CPC local, this is the one that I was referring to that we had recommended. Since TASB legal is pointing out that to comply with the law, we really need to specify, instead of saying the superintendent or a designee, we really need to have a specific position listed. And what we discussed in the policy committee was reflecting that the deputy superintendent for administration would be the electronic records management officer. So this is to meet new requirements that came out of the Texas State Library and Archives Commission rules that they adopted. Any questions on that one? Okay, the following one, slide 11. This one is a brand new one. There's two brand new local policies. So this one complies with the bill from the regular session. We will be revisiting this one again soon, and also in the academics committee, I believe. Senate Bill 1267 is now requiring that boards annually review the SBEC Continuing Education and Training Clearinghouse of professional development requirements. I will say that I reviewed it with multiple administrators, and Northside already far exceeds the requirements that are in that clearinghouse. And we already have a professional development plan that's revisited every year. So this is really not new for us. But the recommendation with this local policy is to lay out within the policy that the board will review that plan each year, as opposed to within this policy listing all of the required trainings. It's a pretty long, extensive list. So to keep the policy clean, it will read that the board will annually review that and adopt. So we'll come back, that already exists in a very extensive document, and we far exceed the requirements that are in that clearinghouse. As far as the associated legal policy, there really were minimal updates. It just reflected that the board would review the plan. The following EHAA, this one's basic instructional programming. This is out of the second special session, Senate Bill 9 again. This is, as I had mentioned before, this is very similar to what came out in your update 118 previously in the late fall, early beginning of the school year, or beginning of the calendar year, related to human sexuality instruction. This imposes several requirements related to child abuse, domestic violence, dating violence, sex trafficking, and requires board policy on adopting those curriculum materials in the same way that the board has to adopt curriculum materials for human sexuality. So it mirrors very closely the process that y'all had just gone through with that. SHAC has to hold the public meetings and make the recommendations to the board at a public meeting, which we just recently did. And that's pretty much it on that one. Very similar to what you had seen. It just came out of 2 separate bills. So one of them happened in the spring, one of them happened in the fall. The following one on slide 13 is very simple. The bill from HB 1525, which was a massive bill in the regular session, it was the Hp3 Cleanup Bill. One of the many things that that bill did was remove the requirement for a district to annually certify to the commissioner that the GT program is consistent with the state plan for GT students. So because that was removed, we're removing that from the local policy. So that one's very simple, just strikes out a paragraph. Slide 14 is the second brand new local policy related to graduation requirements. So this is the local policy that reflects the TEA form that I was mentioning we will need to adopt to allow a student to opt out of the requirement to complete a financial aid application to meet graduation requirements. So this one's pretty straightforward. The student handbook, if you see at the bottom, TASB recommends reviewing. We do that annually, so that's already in practice. Slide 15 related to,
Kelly?
oh, sorry, go ahead.
So there isn't, okay, hang on just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this has to do, but on that opt-out one,
Mm-hmm.
are there any reasons to, I mean, is there, are there acceptable reasons for why a student would opt out of doing FAFSA?
I'm looking at
Or
the
is it just
form.
they sign the form and say they don't want to do it?
That's pretty much it. Mm-hmm. Yep. It has student authorization. If they are 18 years or older, they can authorize themselves. If not, it requires parent authorization. And it just states that they acknowledge basically what they're doing. The counselor has to sign it as well.
Okay.
So it's a
Right.
pretty short form.
Thanks.
Any other questions on that one? Okay. Slide 15, crisis
Sorry,
intervention.
one more,
Oh,
one
sure.
more on the,
Go ahead.
so, in the student services, you know, we have those individuals on our campuses that work with kids to help them become, you know, registered for college and look for scholarships and all the rest. It's not our intent to, I mean, make this a practice of saying, oh, but if you don't want to do this, because sometimes filling out a FAFSA can take a little work on the parent's part. So I don't want us to be out there promoting, oh, but if you just don't want to do it, just sign this form.
We won't
you know-
advertise it, but if somebody says, I don't want to do this, then we're going to.
Oh, yeah, no, Brian, but I'm, you know, because I think there's some circumstances where it would be easy for parents to say, oh, I don't want to mess with that. That's too much trouble. And I've seen that happen with some of our kids, and then you have to fight to get FAFSA done. So I just, I'm not quite understanding the reason behind why they would want that, but, okay.
I would say that.
Is this because the kids that are not going to go to college, we're forcing them to fill out the form, and now they're saying if they don't want to fill it out, they don't have to?
That could be one of the reasons. It's a requirement now for graduation that you do this, so this was just an opt-out option, yeah, to allow.
I would say that one of the reasons why there is, you know, that, or the push for being able to opt out of it is because it requires a lot of financial information, right? You know, tax forms, things like that. And so there's that privacy. I would say it kind of would lend itself to the privacy, so. That's the only reason what I can think of.
Let's see, slide 15, related to the trauma-informed care training. So out of Senate Bill 1267 from the regular session, you all had reviewed this previously in Update 118, so not a huge change here. But what we're doing with this one is, or what's recommended, is that we include a reference to the required trauma-informed care training within this local policy, since there's that new requirement for SBEC to publish annually their clearinghouse of training requirements. It just requires an update in more than one local policy to reflect that. So in addition to making note of that policy or that plan, The bill from the regular session also repealed the requirement for the district to annually report to TEA how many employees had participated in the trauma-informed care training, so that provision is just kind of stricken out from the local policy. This is really just basically a touch-up from Update 118.
And Kelly, remind us, I know you said it at our committee meeting, but what's the timeline for this?
For the professional development plan, it already exists for us. So this is first reading of the local policies. We'll do second and then adopt when ready. But that plan is going to make its way through academics, I believe, and probably update it a bit in the format. But it's already there and it's already in practice. So this really doesn't change anything for.
So once we get done with the approval process, when would the newer requirements like trauma-informed have to take place? Would that be on top of everything else they're doing in August, or would there be some time? What?
When they'll actually take it? That's a good question. I'm not sure what the timeline is.
So we have, I believe, in August 5th, I'll have to go look, academics meeting, and so we'll be bringing that to you at that time.
Okay,
And then
great.
it's on the August 25th board for approval.
Okey doke, thanks.
And let's see, slide 16, I think this is the final local policy, again to comply with Senate Bill 9 from the second session. This is already practice for Northside, but Senate Bill 9 requires districts, as soon as they find out about dating violence that involves a student, to immediately notify the parent of the student who is either the perpetrator or victim. Additionally, district policy must include reporting procedures and guidelines for students who are victims of dating violence and include a clear statement that dating violence is not tolerated at school. So I reviewed the policy that we had previously. It was all in there already, and TASB cleaned it up a little, or is recommending cleaning it a little bit and shifting a few things around. So really nothing was substantially changed here, and that has already been the practice as well. So not a whole lot of substantial changes on the local policies, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have.
Questions? Dr. Harlan, this came before Policy and Governmental Relations. I know you chair that committee. Did you have any comments from the discussion at the committee?
No, Kelly, again, a great job, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and if anybody, we can review these. These will be on the agenda for next general meeting next month. It'll appear in consent, and unless anybody pulls anything, we will then possibly approve. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
All right. Next item on the agenda, Dr. Woods, redistricting.
Yes, ma'am. I would love to say we're ready to present that, but it seems that my presenter is caught at a previous board meeting. And so my recommendation, Ms. Freeman, is that, and he has not yet communicated with me what his ETA is. So my recommendation is, because we're going to pull item B under superintendent, move that to a later meeting, that we go ahead and at least begin the closed session work. And hopefully I'll be able to communicate with Mr. Decker, and then if needed, we come back into open, or we push it a week and, look at it in early August. But no, I was done.
Haven't we already seen this? Rob's already, didn't Rob already go over?
You've seen some of this presentation. The conversation that we had hoped to have tonight was about public involvement in the process and trying to get through that piece before we move forward. So we need to get through that piece before we can actually move forward with the process.
Because I remember we had already seen this. I just was thinking that there was going to be.
It's just a review
a
because
different
it's been a
discussion
little time.
about the redistricting on this. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So as Dr. Woods said, we will pull the board superintendent goals, as we did not have that full discussion in an earlier meeting. So that'll be on the next, well, I'm sorry? August 2nd?
Well, I think, let me work with them and see how it goes, and then we'll either reset it or actually, board superintendent goal is probably a little later, because I want to send it to the board in draft form so that you can see it, spend a little time with it before we bring it to a meeting and discuss. So maybe the 16th on that one.
Okay. All right. So the Board of Trustees on July 26, 2022, beginning at, we'll take a brief 5-minute break. Beginning at 7:05, we'll convene and close meeting in accordance with Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 551.072, 73, 74, 76, 082, and 084. And we will be meeting back in the...
H.
Back in the, okay. All right. Thank y'all. Okay, we're now back in open, and it is 10:15. Did I have that right? It's 10:15. Is there a motion to come before the board? Dr. Harrell?
Oh.
Oh, did you put?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I thought
I'll move to approve the administrative contract, or the administrative appointments as presented in executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the admin appointments as discussed in executive session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Is there another motion?
I move that we accept the superintendent's salary package as discussed in executive session.
Contract changes, maybe, is that?
Any
Contract
evaluation?
changes.
Contract changes
Second.
as discussed in executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is that the right motion, Dr. Woods?
That's fine.
Close enough? Yeah. So we have a motion and a second to approve.
The recommended changes to the superintendent's contract.
Thank you. Recommended changes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. And next, is there another motion?
I'm trying, do we need a motion for the evaluation? I move approval of the superintendent's evaluation as discussed in closed session. And just want to add that we think you're doing an outstanding job, and we're very, very grateful that you are our superintendent.
Second.
Agree.
And just for those here, he did not quit.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the superintendent's evaluation as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and unless there's any objections, this meeting is adjourned.
All right.